Welcome to Twilight Tarot Wisdom again. Jessica here. On to the next card in the series, the High Priestess. I absolutely love the High Priestess card. I hope that, why wouldn't I? I'm a tarot reader, right? I'm psychic. Like, come on. um, uh, I noticed in my last card, the Magician, I gotta tell you, these cards are full of so much and so much symbolism. And I feel like there was a lot that I just didn't do really good justice to for the Fool and the Magician. So I'm going to go real in depth with the High Priestess because she deserves it. There's a lot of symbolism here. So let's get started with it. And one other thing I noticed too was I'm not really telling you too much how I'm interpreting these in terms of context of a love reading, a career reading. I'm really giving you more of the symbolism of what the card represents and what everything represents. But I hope in giving you that knowledge, because I feel like that's a lot of people don't, a lot of people who try to get into tarot don't realize there's so much hidden knowledge just within the symbolism of the card itself, that's what I kind of really want to go in depth with, and it will help you figure out the meaning of what this card means in a love reading or in a career reading, so on and so forth. Okay, so starting off with the High Priestess here, got a lot going on. High Priestess usually indicates somebody who is extremely intuitive, extremely psychic, somebody who understands the other side, the other realms as far as like even the underworld and that of death. And there's a lot of symbolism in here that is correlated to Persephone in Greek mythology, which I'm a Scorpio and I am ruled by Persephone, so I know a lot about her. Okay, so the reason why I say that is, do you notice here there's these pomegranates in the background? So, pomegranate, if any of you know the story of Persephone from Greek mythology, she was persuaded and tricked by Hades. She followed him, or he basically took her to the underground and was like basically tricked her into showed her a bunch of pomegranates, and those pomegranates basically were like, I guess you could say, cursed, in that once she ate them she was forever bound to the underworld and she could never leave. However, her mother Demeter, which is representative of a Virgo, Demeter is ruled by Virgo, so Demeter, who also rules like the weather and spring and summer and all of that, the earth, that is Gaia, earth, right? Which is why Virgos are earthy. Was super sad that her daughter was taken away from her, and that's why we have winter, because everything turned cold and dead. Now Persephone was allowed to go back to Earth from the underworld, like every spring, and so that's why Demeter gets happy again when Persephone is allowed back into the world, and that's why you have spring and summer. Okay, so without going into that too far context, just giving a little history background of Persephone. So Persephone knows the underworld really well because she lives in it. Okay, and the High Priestess, she knows the underworld as well. She knows the realms between life and death because she has accessed that knowledge. She's holding a scroll here, which is also indicative of a woman, or in this case, yes, a woman, who understands hidden knowledge. I also want you to pay attention to this veil that she's also wearing. So a veil typically, and we even say the veil, like the people who are mediums, who can tap in and contact to other creatures and other beings and angels, it's like that veil. The veil is, we're able to see through that veil that most people are wearing and blinding them. You know, mediums are able to contact and communicate with other creatures, otherworldly, whether it be spirits, loved ones, angels, guardian spirits, and angels, ancestors. So a medium can access and go and see through that veil that most people don't have access to. But I have to say, the high priestess is where she is at because she has studied and learned a lot. Similar to the magician, this isn't just, okay, she got this knowledge all on her own. Maybe she had the natural talent for it, but this is somebody who has studied. That's why she holds this scroll, because this scroll is hidden knowledge that she has learned, has been passed down to her, something that she has taken the time to learn and understand. And that being said, this is not a young woman, okay? This crown that she wears, I've always thought that this crown was like the maiden mother crown, which is the three phases. Well, it's not three phases of the moon, but like in Wiccan, when you talk about maiden, mother, crone, you talk about those three different moon phases that we typically see. And so maiden is usually supposed to be that of innocence when you're a younger girl, you know. Mother is during her childbearing ages where she can have children. And then crone is when the moon is fading, when we're much, much older, post-menopausal, no longer able to bear children, okay? So this woman here is not a young girl. This is somebody who is much older. She's much more mature, very wise. There's a lot of wisdom. She contains a lot of wisdom. And this wisdom, like I said, is one through experience, but something that she has gained throughout her years. She's gained knowledge. A huge thing that I see here is, one, she has a cross where we could think of, oh, this is very Christianity, very Catholic, right? But doesn't she look like the Virgin Mary to you? She looks like the Virgin Mary to me, for sure. Now, I don't have the actual cards so you can see the actual colors of what she's wearing, but typically she's actually wearing a blue robe right here. And the Virgin Mary also wears a blue robe. Okay, number one. Number two, Virgin Mary has a veil. She has a veil. Number three, Virgin Mary, believe it or not, in those depictions where you see her standing straight and you got the little, like, the light going around her, she's standing on a crescent moon also. So there is so much Virgin Mary, Madonna type of influences in this depiction of the high priestess. I know sometimes people would say, oh, is the high priestess beautiful or is the empress more beautiful? Would that indicate somebody who's prettier? Who's prettier, the empress or the high priestess? You have to understand that the high priestess is, and we're going to get to the empress, right? Next. So, the empress is beautiful in her own right as being a mother, whereas the high priestess is kind of like your woman who is probably beautiful, but she doesn't dress like that. This is somebody who she's kind of dressed like a nun. Like I said, this is supposed to be representative of somebody who is spiritually beautiful, okay? Spiritually enlightened and beautiful. She doesn't have to use her physique to gain people's attention. She can use her mysticism and her knowledge of the other worlds. You know, she's very deep. I would say that her eyes are probably very, very consuming and very deep because she contains so much wisdom. Personally, I feel the high priestess has much more wisdom than the magician. I have to say that. But so going on, something that's really huge here, the black and white pillars. This is big, okay? Of course, they're huge, right? And what the B and the J means, it's like, what the heck is BJ? You know? So this actually is Hebrew, and comes from the Old Testament. Like I said, there's a lot of Christianity, Catholicism influences in here. B actually represents Boaz, and J represents Yakin. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Yakin. And in Hebrew, it basically means Yakin is he will establish, and Boaz. In him is strength. And J, the Yakin, means he will establish. In him is strength. These pillars are actually the pillars that are on Solomon's temple, okay? And so, and Solomon is obviously from the Old Testament as well, okay? Solomon the king, right? King Solomon. So, the also black and white, this is indicative of like yin and yang, right, wrong, feminine, masculine, anything that's that whole duality. There's duality here. So of course we're gonna have the number 2 because that's what the number 2 symbolizes too. 2 symbolizes 2. No, the number 2 is that of balance. Balancing yin and yang, balancing feminine and masculine energies, balancing, being able to balance. And that is why I don't know if I'm just going to do the majors or if I'll also do the minors, but in the minor arcana, all of your number 2s are representative of balancing. The 2 of pentacles, he's balancing those 2 pentacles. 2 swords, he's holding on to the 2 swords. 2 of wands, you've got 2 separate directions, right? And the 2 of cups, 2 people coming together, right? So a feminine and masculine, right? So this number 2 is the high priestess is very balanced. And one of the reasons why she's very balanced is because she knows how to meditate. She knows how to get into that, she knows how to get into the zone. She gets into a meditative trance and is able to access those other worlds like no other because she can calm herself down and meditate. That blue robe that I was talking about, is also representative of calmness. And really, when people pray to the Virgin Mary is obviously a mother, but she's also calming. She brings, I think even in I don't know if it's, I'm trying to remember the Our Father or Hail Mary, where she's the one that you ask to come by your bedside before you pass away. And I grew up Catholic, by the way, so I was confirmed Catholic. So I know some of this stuff, okay? And going back on that, the Virgin Mary is seen to be very peaceful and calming. Peaceful energy. She gives peace. Even she comforts, very comforting. So there's a lot of nuances here. The Empress, which we're going to get to, I have to say is, yes, she's nurturing, but this reminds me more of like Virgin Mary type of nurturing, type of comfort and peace. Okay. Some other thing I wanted to say, I did mention the moon down here, the crescent moon. This is also feminine. The moon represents female energies, correct? And, coincidentally, I think it's actually yellow though, in a card that actually has color, like regular color. But this can also be indicative of the having to do with the maiden, mother, and crone. Okay, so and I also wanted to say that what was I gonna say? I kind of just went black and white here. Okay, black and white. I went blank. Okay. Some other things here. So it can also represent secrets or holding on to secrets. The High Priestess is, because she contains the secret hidden knowledge, this scroll represents that secretive hidden knowledge. Sometimes when you get the High Priestess in a card, it can represent exactly that. She is able to hold on to that secretive knowledge. Okay, now I'm going to go through these other representations here. If you notice, she's got the scroll, she's got the pomegranate. I think I even see like a pentagram in the background. There's the moon up here. This is the crown, very similar to the Virgin Mary, who has a crown around her as well. Crown of light, meaning that she is connected to divinity and to the divine source of knowledge. Interestingly enough, she kind of has this like horns here and crown here on her third eye. So she's able to access other dimensions and other realms with her third eye. This is somebody who knows, probably is a medium, who probably knows how to astral project, somebody who definitely knows how to meditate and get into other planes of existence. And with the owl here, owls symbolize wisdom. You also have the pillars in the background as well. And if you notice, there's water. Oh, and I just remembered his name. Cheeto Marchetti. Ciro Marchetti. Okay, sorry. I don't sound like Carlos. I just remembered his name. Okay. There's water here too. Water is very feminine, but water is also symbolic of, and when we get into the moon, I'm going to talk about the water too. Water is also being able to access other realms. Water is being able to access the subconscious and access hidden knowledge. Okay, here we've got the two pillars as well. We've got the crescent moon. We also have the water on the bottom. She's dressed in white, symbolizing purity. I'm trying to see if what else, some of this other symbolism here. It looks like time encapsulated. But yeah, that's another interpretation. And over here, we still have the two pillars. We've got the black and white candles. Okay, we've got the black and white pillars. And notice how they're opposite of each other. Opposite, right? Symbolizing that yin and yang. Look at all the books she has in the background. Kind of like the magician, meaning that she has studied. She knows her stuff. She knows it, right? And then if you notice here, she's, using tarot, using a crystal ball. It looks like these are those, I'm trying to remember what those, I don't use these, but runes. She's using runes right here. So this is somebody who is very esoteric, into esoteric arts, okay, into the esoteric arts, because she studied it and she knows it very well. I feel like I really covered a lot and went through a lot. If there's anything that I'm missing or something that I did not cover, please feel free to comment below and let me know. As far as interpretations go, in a love reading, even in a career reading, if I get the High Priestess, there's either a secret that somebody knows and is not talking about it, or you have the ability to use your own intuition and you know what is best. Most of the time, the High Priestess comes out. I usually get that to represent my client and whoever I'm reading for. And it's usually that they're extremely intuitive and they're very gifted, but they need to just trust their intuition more. And there's a lot of innocence here. Remember how I was saying like the Virgin Mary, so keep that in mind, because the High Priestess, like let's say we're doing like a third party love reading. I would not see the High Priestess as somebody who is cheating or anything like that, because she's just too pure. She's too representative of that Virgin Mary, okay? And the Virgin itself, and that's kind of that play on the whole maiden, maiden, mother crone. The maiden is a virgin, innocent, pure, okay? So I don't know. I'm gonna leave it there. I covered a lot. I feel like I covered a lot. If you liked this, please comment. Feel free to comment, like, and please subscribe to my channel so I can bring you some more videos. I'm going to either way. So, all right. Thanks. Bye.